My brother got my fiancée pregnant, and my father gave him the company I built with my own hands. I walked away, rebuilt everything from zero, and what happened next left them begging at my door. I'm 33 now. My younger brother Ethan is 30. Growing up in Cleveland, our house looked perfectly ordinary from the street. Brick ranch, basketball hoop in the driveway, American flag on the porch. Inside, it was a different world. Ethan arrived after 3 miscarriages. My mom's pregnancy with him was hell. Preeclampsia, bleeding scares, months of bed rest. When he was finally born, 6 weeks early, barely 4 pounds, the doctors weren't sure he'd make it through the first night. He did, but the next 4 years were a blur of hospital visits, oxygen tanks in the living room, and my parents sleeping in shifts. I was 7 when he came home for good. I remember sitting on those plastic hospital chairs for hours, clutching a Game Boy with dead batteries, just so my parents knew someone was watching their older son while they watched the younger one fight to breathe. That experience rewired my parents, especially my dad. Ethan became untouchable, fragile, sacred. I became the kid who was expected to never need anything. If I brought home a B+, Dad wanted to know why it wasn't an A. If Ethan failed 2 classes because he wasn't feeling well, Dad wrote the school a note and took him for ice cream. If I forgot to take out the trash, I lost my phone for a week. If Ethan wrecked Mom's car at 17, no license, no insurance, Dad paid for the repairs out of pocket and told him accidents happen. I learned very early that love in our house was a finite resource, and Ethan had a lifetime supply. At 15, I started working weekends and summers at Dad's plumbing company. It wasn't a big operation. 2 vans, a 800-square-foot office warehouse combo, 5 or 6 techs during spring rush. Dad started it 35 years ago with 1 truck and a Yellow Pages ad. It kept us comfortable, nothing more. I didn't care about plumbing, but I cared about Dad looking at me the way he looked at Ethan when he hit a growth spurt, and the doctors said he was finally out of the woods. So I showed up at 6 a.m. every Saturday mornings, loaded trucks, cleaned fittings, ran for parts. By 17, I could repipe an entire house faster than guys twice my age. By 19, I was writing bids. By 21, customers called the office and said, "Send that quiet kid who actually shows up on time." Dad still introduced Ethan as the future of the company every Thanksgiving. I pushed us into the 21st century anyway. I taught myself tankless water heaters, whole house filtration, commercial grease trap systems. I stayed up until 3 a.m. studying code changes so we could bid on restaurant chains and apartment complexes. I found new suppliers who gave us better pricing because I actually answered my phone. Revenue went up 40% in 4 years. Dad's response: "Ethan's been helping with the books, really stepping up." Ethan's actual contribution: he learned how to make the scheduling calendar different colors. I moved out at 23, bought a tired 3-bedroom ranch 20 minutes away. I spent every weekend gutting bathrooms, refinishing floors, hanging drywall, turning that house into proof that I could build something that was only mine. That's when I met Olivia. She was the property manager on a 42-unit luxury condo conversion downtown. I was there doing rough-in plumbing on 18 new bathrooms. One morning, I walked onto the 5th floor and saw her tearing into a flooring crew for trying to install hardwood over an unlevel subfloor. She knew more about construction than half the GCs I'd met. After the crew slunk away, I said, "Finally someone who actually reads the specs." She laughed, told me if you're not going to do it right, you shouldn't bother showing up, and asked if I wanted to grab coffee after work to talk shop. We never stopped talking after that. 6 years ago, that was. She moved in with me 2 years later, turned the smallest bedroom into an office, and within months had us using real scheduling software, proper contracts, online invoicing. Profits went up another 30%. Dad grumbled about all these computers but cashed the bigger checks without complaint. We got engaged 4 years in. Nothing fancy. I proposed in the living room surrounded by blueprints for a restaurant chain we just landed, got on one knee and said, "This is us, paperwork, late nights, building something real." "Marry me?" she cried, said yes. We picked a date the following spring. Then the slow poison started. Ethan's latest get-rich-quick scheme, some crypto pump-and-dump telegram group, blew up. He came home broke again. Dad gave him a desk at the office until he gets back on his feet. Olivia started spending whole days at my parents' house, helping mom with wedding stuff or working where it's quieter. I was always in the field, so I didn't question it at first. Then the little things. Olivia changed her phone passcode for security updates. Ethan started wearing the cologne I'd worn since college. Olivia defended Ethan every single time I complained about him losing invoices or ordering the wrong fittings. Linda, our receptionist of 15 years, the only person who ever told me good job without adding, but tell Ethan I said hi, started giving me long, sad looks. One afternoon, Linda closed the office door and said, "Come back early tomorrow. Use the warehouse door, see for yourself." I did. Walked in at 2:17 p.m. and found them in the break room. Ethan's hand up the back of Olivia's shirt, her arms around his neck, laughing into his mouth. They sprang apart when they saw me. I didn't yell. I just stared until Ethan's face went purple, then I turned and left. That night, I left my phone on the kitchen island while I showered. Came out dripping wet and caught Olivia shoving it back onto the counter like it burned her. The next day, Linda confirmed what the whole shop already knew. They'd been sleeping together for months. In the warehouse, in Ethan's truck, even in our bed when I was on overnight emergency calls. I waited until Olivia got home that evening. Door closed, lights low, voice completely flat. "Are you sleeping with my brother?" She folded in 10 seconds. Tears, excuses, it just happened. We never meant to stop. I love you, not him. I told her to pack whatever fit in her car tonight and the rest by the weekend. She was gone by morning. 2 weeks later, she called sobbing, asked to meet at a neutral coffee shop. She looked like hell. First words out of her mouth, "I'm pregnant." My stomach dropped through the floor. For one black second, I thought, tied to her forever. Then she whispered, "It's probably Ethan's." The dates. I stood up and walked out. I drove straight to my parents' house. Ethan was in Dad's office hiding behind a stack of invoices. I asked him if he'd been sleeping with my fiancée. He actually tried to say it wasn't planned. Dad tried the family sticks together speech. I told them both I was done with the company, done with all of them, and left my keys on the desk the next morning before anyone else arrived. I took every personal tool I'd bought with my own money, shook Linda's hand, and started the next Monday at Marshall Plumbing, Dad's biggest local competitor. They offered me 30% more pay, a take-home van, and 0 family baggage. Within 4 months, I had my master plumber license, something Dad always said I was too young for. Within 8 months, I was running their commercial division. 6 months after I walked away, Mom showed up at my door in tears. "Your father has a proposal, please just hear him out." Against every instinct, I went. The whole circus was there. Dad, Mom, Ethan looking smug, Olivia 6 months pregnant and rubbing her belly like a trophy. Dad laid it out. Ethan and Olivia would get married. Ethan would eventually take over the company, and I would come back to train him and keep things running in the meantime. I laughed so hard I almost cried. Told them they were insane, told Ethan he was dead to me, told Dad he'd made his choice 30 years ago and walked out again. Fast forward another 4 months. The stories started filtering back. Ethan fired the 2 best techs because they didn't respect his vision. He hired his old college roommate who couldn't solder copper to save his life. He took out a $120,000 merchant cash advance at 40% interest to upgrade the fleet, and bought himself a $78,000 fully loaded F-350 instead. 3 major contracts botched so badly one restaurant chain was suing for $75,000 in water damage. Suppliers put the company on COD. Veteran employees quit in waves. Linda quit last, texting me, "It's a circus, I can't watch anymore." Then Olivia disappeared. Left Ethan a note, took the new truck, her name was on the loan too, and vanished. No forwarding address. Rumor is she moved to Florida with some contractor she met on Instagram. Then Ethan disappeared. Cleaned out Dad's personal savings, $28,000, left his phone and a post-it that said "Need to find myself," and ghosted. Dad showed up at my new house 2 weeks ago. He looked 80 years old. The business is in bankruptcy. The house is in foreclosure. He tried to hand me a folder. 100% ownership, no strings, just save it. I told him I didn't want his corpse of a company. Told him he'd spent my entire life teaching Ethan there were no consequences, and now he was living in the world he created. He asked where he went wrong. I told him he didn't go wrong. He succeeded perfectly. He raised exactly the son he wanted. They're moving in with my aunt in Columbus next month. Mom can visit anytime. Dad and Ethan can sleep in the bed they made. I still don't know if the little boy Olivia had his mine. DNA test is pending. If he is, I'll be in his life 100%, scheduled visits, college fund, the works, but only through lawyers. Olivia made her choice. She doesn't get access to me anymore. I'm seeing someone new now. She's a civil engineer I met on a hospital addition project. She doesn't come with betrayal baggage, doesn't need me to prove anything, and laughs at my dumb plumbing jokes. My house is finished, beautiful, paid off. My crews respect me. My name is on bids worth millions. I fall asleep without that old knot in my chest that used to whisper, not enough. I don't feel triumph when I hear how far they've fallen. I don't feel guilt either. I just feel peace. And for the first time in 33 years, it's mine alone. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.